Welcome back. We're so glad to have you back with us. I have my guest, Susan Sorrell, and she is the mayor. I'm just going to call it like I see it. She's the mayor of Shoshone. She's the person that makes things happen. If you want to know anything about Shoshone, this is the lady to contact because, like I said, she knows it. She was born there, not born there, but she was raised there after just a few days.
Yeah.
So, hey, this is it. She can tell you everything about Shoshone. And I'm looking forward to a tour with her because she's going to let me know more than I learned today. So, Susan, again, I'm glad to have you on. And what else can you tell us about Shoshone?
Well, Tom, I have to make a confession.
What's
here.
the confession?
I was always very independent and one of these people that sort of questioned authority and sort of did my own thing, and so I wasn't much of a business person at all. I was more artistic and involved in the arts, and so I sort of, when someone calls me a title like mayor, I sort of cringe a little.
Okay.
But I am so fortunate to have a wonderful husband that is a great partner, and I think we really balance each other a little.
That's always good. Okay.
But also, Robbie and I have just the most amazing management team and group of people that work with us. Many of them, like the lead chef in the cafe, came to us right out of high school, and he is fabulous. And that was like 18 years ago.
Okay.
So many of our team have actually become family. So I sort of fade in the background. We have two amazing ladies in our office, Analia and Dana.
Okay.
And but I really love interacting with people, and I love the Shoshone-Dacopa community and the Pahrump community, and I really especially enjoy working with school children.
Okay.
So I really enjoy giving tours to school groups. So if any of you out there are principals or teachers, if you would be interested in a tour of our wetlands or the really interesting area in Shoshone called Dublin Gulch, I would be so happy to set that up for you. And that's more my forte than being a mayor.
Well, how would they contact you to make arrangements for that?
Just call our office, the Shoshone Village office. It is 760-852-4224. And just leave a message for Susan Sorrells, and I would be so pleased to contact you back, leave your phone number and name, and set up a tour.
Okay, well, we're able to get that number on the screen, but give it again just in case they want to write that down.
Yeah, it's 760, because we're in California, 852-4224.
Okay.
And also, for the last 4 or 5 years, we've put a staff naturalist on our staff, and her name is Molly Hansen, and her partner's name is Len Warren, who is the Birdman of Shoshone, and he gives fabulous bird walks.
Okay.
And she also gives bird walks. So we really hope that when people come to Shoshone, not just our fellow neighbors in Pahrump, but also people traveling through, that they see more than a lot of line.
Okay. Yes.
And there is so much more. There's the museum that's right next to the Crowbar.
And what do you have in the museum?
The museum is a wonderful place where a visitor can learn about the mining history, the Paleozoic history, the history of the women of the area, the women that helped to create the towns and the communities. the Native Americans. But I think the most important thing about the museum is not it's what you don't see.
Ah,
And that is our accessioning system, where everyone now in the community can bring letters and invoices and primary documents that they might find in their family's cupboards,
okay.
and bring them to the museum. And those documents, this letter there and that letter here, can really save history.
Okay.
So it's not, I think, especially in the Old West or the New West, there's a tendency to make a good story, but sort of ignore the facts. It's entertaining, but it's not really history.
Okay.
But when you have primary documents like a letter of a mother to her daughter telling about maybe when a pioneer passed on, or when the road was built, or
Okay.
a birth, those are primary documents that aren't folk tales.
And we don't think about that much.
It's, well, I was a history major, and it was actually African history
Okay.
that I got my master's in. But I really realized the importance of documents. And when I came home, there were mining claims and invoices and letters and diaries that were just being tossed, because often that happens when a loved one dies, that passes on. And they are just they literally save history.
Okay.
So my cousin Brian Brown, that has China Ranch, and myself and 5 or 6 other people in the community thought that it would just be so valuable to start a museum. And so now we have wonderful workers. We have Mary King, who does all the curating, and it's a very formal way of curating, where one might give us a specimen, and then we have a number, we put it in our archives, and we also share it with other museums. And then Ethel Rook, who's from a pioneer family, John Muccio, that had the fabulous restaurant Pastels at the Hot Springs, and now we have Tony Kissay, who has just joined our staff. So, and also Carla Perkins, who puts on the art show. So we just have an amazing group of staff people.
Out of all the names you mentioned, the only one that sounds familiar is Muccio. Any connection to Ryan?
It is Ryan's father.
Ryan's father.
And actually, Ryan is a dear, dear, dear friend, and actually worked in our cafe when he was in college, when he was in high school in Shoshone.
Oh, okay.
And we just remained very, very close. And he's a marvelous young man.
He is that.
And his father is also every bit as amazing.
Okay.
So
When I talk to Ryan again, I've got to let him know that, okay, he's got connections to Shoshone.
Oh, he has deep connections.
Deep connections, okay.
But also there's our staff naturalist and Lynn give bird walks into our wetlands that are just a section of the Amagosa River that is just absolutely wild and natural and beautiful.
Okay.
With streams and pools and mesquite bosques, and it's just lovely. And then, of course, the spring ecosystem. So, and then there's Dublin Gulch that is so popular with everyone, and it's miners' caves. And I give tours of those, and that's a really interesting history, too.
Now, if you take a tour of Shoshone, about how long is the tour?
Well, it can be a while. So often it's either a tour of Dublin Gulch,
Okay.
or we have another area that has historical tracks of mammoths, mastodons, camels, saber-toothed wolves. That's sort of, we call it our Ice Age Zoo. So that's a tour. Dublin Gulch is a tour. The Pupfish Ponds and the Spring Ecosystem is a tour.
So don't try and see it all at one time.
No.
No, okay.
You'll be
So
frustrated.
you need to come back and see more.
Yes.
And so, yeah,
Yes.
over time you can get to see all of this.
Yes, and we're very very happy that we're neighbors of Pahrump, and we have so many people in Pahrump,
Okay.
like the Richard and Carol Cantino, and many others that we really feel are a part of our community in Shoshone and Dacopa.
Now, one of the things we're finding is the fact that this show will now be seen in parts of Las Vegas, and it expands way out. So I'm sure they also see it in Shoshone. So because you're not that far away.
Yeah.
I'll have to check with Vern just to be sure, because now that he's expanded, really expanding, it's going to be seen in a lot more places. So we're inviting people from a lot of places to come and see Shoshone.
Well, and I must say quickly, because I know our time is running out here, but this coming week, we are going to be the first of a series of a new television pilot called Cleared for Lunch. And the pilot, this pilot show is of pilots, very famous pilots, that fly into rural areas like Shoshone
Okay.
and have a meal in a very good but remote cafe. So this coming week, Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, will be flying into Shoshone.
Oh, beautiful.
And having lunch at the Crowbar. So
Okay.
those are things that are just so much fun. And we had a film crew that was making a film starring Brad Pitt 6 months ago, and so it's so serendipity. You never know who you're going to run into at the Crowbar.
Oh, this is fantastic information. You know, not only that, it's just the fact that we're so close to you.
Yes.
And to be able to come over to Shoshone and see things that we didn't even know about.
Yeah. But we have so much commonality between Pahrump and Shoshone, and I don't know if you all know, but the students in Pahrump actually came to Shoshone for high school in the early 70s. How things have changed.
Yes, they have.
Yeah, but we're neighbors, and from my point of view, many of the people in Pahrump I've known for many, many years, and they're dear, dear, dear friends, and we feel that Pahrump is very much a part of our community.
Well, I want to let you know, I really thank you, Susan, for being on the show.
My pleasure.
And we thank you, and we thank you for watching, because there's so much to Shoshone, and there's so much that Susan could not even cover in the segments that we've had. So I may have to have her back later on. But thank you, and we'll be back for the next segment.